Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Bat Minute Beyond. We're saying that's still the season. That was still the last season.
Who gives a damn? The point is, we're back finally. We know we've kept you waiting a little while, but you know, whatever. This is how we roll. We do what we want when we want.
Yeah, this is Bat Minute back on hiatus with a hiatus episode, the podcast that has already achieved Hypercube. In the screening room when I was watching this, and just the fact that they made a cube to Hypercube joke, I was like, what?
You're like, this is one for John.
This is because we brought up Cube and Hypercube so many times on the show.
Yeah,
it's just like, no wonder like Vera was so suited when she was a guest. So it's just like, oh, of course, yeah, someone will go into the minutiae of Batman films and also will crack a joke about Hypercube. It's like, oh yeah, perfect.
Turns out that's the only reason she agreed to come on. She's like, oh, yeah, I don't want to talk about Batman stuff.
No,
just Cube. Let's do Cube 2 minutes at a time. There you go.
That's it. Why not? Although I suppose you could do Cube. So how many? There's 6 sides to a cube, right? So.
Oh my god! No, this is gonna get really elaborate, like the cube thing in this.
Yeah, well, Cube itself was elaborate. If people haven't seen Cube, you treat yourself to going out to Cube. This intro has already gone away from us. So anyway, hello.
Perfect. Everyone. It's been a while. That's what people want.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again to Bat Minute, one of our hiatus episodes. It has been a while. Due to various whatnots, but hey, we're back. Back to talk about a film that's delayed. You know, us delaying the release of this is quite suitable, considering that like this film, part of its infamy is its delayed release due to been held back by. I thought it was a cease and desist order from Warner Brothers. It was just a strongly worded letter.
It was basically like, don't be doing that.
This is like we could cause trouble for if you try to release this thing, basically, rather than if you do this, we're automatically going to sue you. It was more like, don't make us have to actually threaten to sue you. But yeah. So basically, we're talking about The People's Joker, which is a film long-term listeners will no doubt be familiar with, because in a rare move by Bat Minute, we actually had the writer-director of this, Vera Drew, on the show like 2 seasons back, talking about the film. Which is weird because now it's just like, do you have to explain what The People's Joker is? It's like, if you want to know, just go back. We have literally, she's there to talk about it in her own words. So it's in the Mask of the Phantasm season when the Joker first shows up, whatever minute that was.
Only episode I ever had to miss.
Yeah, only 2.
God damn it, the perfect person for me to speak to as well.
Yeah, there are two episodes. Yeah.
I know. I'm still not over it after all this time, but you know, it's my fault. It was a double booking situation, and that's the only time you can get, Vera. So it's like, well, I was like, Niall, I'll take one for the team. You do it.
Yeah. And it was it was weird too. She's the only guest who was ever properly like, we had to negotiate with her agent and stuff. Everyone else is just like, you just got straight through to them. But this was just like a proper like, oh no, there's levels to get to. This is like a person of some esteem, which is understandable after you watch The People's Joker, because it turns out, after all the hubba-bub-bub, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good film.
And let me say that as well, because obviously I'm one step removed, because I didn't speak to Vera. So, we're not just saying it because we've had the writer, director, star on. No, that's not why we're saying it. Like, we actually deliberately left this a little while so we could think about it and sit on it. And,
yeah.
And I'm saying it's very good.
Yeah, it is. I think it was one of those things that took people by surprise. So it's a kind of Cliff Notes version, in case people don't remember what The People's Joker was. Basically, it was a Batman Joker, well, mostly a Joker, parody film that was made by a trans performer, Vera Drew, who then attempted to release it, and despite crowdfunding, and it's been pieced together through the contributions of like literally hundreds of artists. So part of it's animated in various different styles. It's like those people who did the remember they remade Star Wars, but they
yeah.
sent out, and they did RoboCop as well, which was amazing. The RoboCop one where literally every scene was assigned to a different person, and they were just allowed to go nuts and do whatever they wanted.
The thing with this though is it fits the tone.
Oh yeah,
That's the
it's supposed to be.
Like they're fun, they're good, but it works perfectly for these characters and this story and this world.
Yeah. It's just because it's supposed to be anarchy, basically, and it is literally. I think it actually has the first on-screen interpretation of Anarchy, the DC character, as well. But we'll get to that one. We'll get to it.
Oh wow! Holy crap!
But yeah, and then basically, Vera was all geared up to release this. Features celebrity friends, etc., etc. And then Warner Bros. Was just like, nope, that's our property. You can't just go and do that. And then it was viral.
It, right? Obviously, I'm so happy Vera did get to do this, but from their perspective, I kind of get it.
Yeah. Oh no. Well, the thing it is like, well, you've basically made a Joker movie. Without
Which
owning
is fantastic
the right,
for us, the viewer.
Yeah, without going to us about like getting the rights. And I think that eventually then there was a massive viral campaign, was very, very successful. Hashtag release the people's Joker, and it was sort of proven that as a parody, it falls under fair use. And so here we go.
That's interesting to me because I wouldn't call it a parody. I don't know. It's using characters to tell a sort of very personal story.
Yeah, but I think it is
it's enough
spoofing
of a parody.
It's spoofing them. Like the version of Batman isn't a straightforward version of Batman. Like it's very much it's a critique of Batman and like a mockery and whatnot, but very affectionately done. Like you even see it from the beginning. Like I think the tone's quite like struck within the opening second. Like the to my mom and Joel Schumacher. Like that's been the sentiment of like the film is dedicated to my mother and Joel Schumacher.
That was one of my favorite bits because I wasn't expecting that. I guess I just assume nobody likes the Joel Schumacher ones and they're not going to reference them. They're going to reference everything else about Batman. But
well, I think we are in the like the education I've got about the Batman fandom through doing this show over the years is like discovering the pockets of people who know Batman has been it's this version, and then there's people closer to our generation who are more open to the Schumacher version, and there's of course a very famous scene in Batman Forever which we encountered in a big bad way when we did that season, where like we kept getting inundated with messages about one scene, and then to see that scene is actually referenced directly in this film as being a seminal moment in Vera's life. It was just like, holy moly, that like I don't think Joel Schumacher, Nicole Kidman, or Val Kilmer would have ever anticipated that being such a profound scene for people, but apparently so.
No, and even if they did, I imagine even Joel Schumacher as a gay man might have thought, oh yeah, but only the straight boys are gonna like this.
Yeah.
but no.
No, it's literally it seemed to have woken very specifically, even though it's an incredibly actually why pussyfoot around it basically. The scene in question being Chase Meridian caressing Batman's chest on the balcony, and the whole black rubber and all that. That then seems very fetishistic, and it's very it's woman. I was gonna say it's man on woman, but she is very much the aggressor in that scene. So it's very much woman on man.
Yeah, he's quite passive actually.
Oh yeah,
we've probably talked about this all those years ago.
Oh, I'm sure we did. We had a whole episode dedicated to that 1 minute. But the fact that it seems to have from what I've observed had a massive effect on the LGBT community, that scene in particular, because not
even
just
though
Vera.
It's essentially straight. Yeah,
it's straight, but it's because it's eroticized hetero relationship through the prism of a gay director. Yeah. Somehow that's had a sort of it awoken something in a lot of. I think it seems to have specifically awoken things in younger people that made them realize that they were gay.
No, absolutely. No, totally. And I think part of it as well is I don't want to simplify it too much, but the outfit.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying those people are all into kink and rubber wear, but what I mean is I think it was that added layer of something unusual and shocking and a bit naughty. You know.
I think because I think even too with the stuff that Chase is talking about in that scene before even that, because she's going on about like, oh, what is it about a certain type of man? You know, in college it was boys with motorbikes and leather jackets, and then Batman later on is like, well, try tuning up firemen, less to take off. I think even the boys in leather on motorbikes is very homoerotic. Firemen are kind of like, oh yeah, got a man in uniform. Like that kind
It's all
of
very
thing.
Tom of Finland.
Yeah. It's like it's probably it's gay coded even in that. Like the most innocuous phrasing is just like no. If you look at that though, and then like the the earrings and things like that, it's just like yeah. But again, though, we're kind of all much like the film itself. We're a bit all over the place.
No, I actually think that'll work well for this episode, though. I don't know if we should necessarily go just beginning to end. I think we should just talk about what we want to talk about.
Oh yeah, man. But
I mean,
basically,
obviously, do pepper in.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much in here. But basically, to sum up, eventually this film was released. Vera, I think the denial by Warner Brothers only added so much more fuel to the fight. I don't think.
I think that's how I heard of it, was because they were complaining. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't think this film would have anywhere near the level of widespread release and sort of like notoriety had Warner Brothers not done that. So
it wouldn't have been on a cinema in England, would it?
No. The fact now that it was like there's organized screenings in massive cities in England. Warner Brothers won't release it officially, but it is getting proper. Like people are paying to put on screenings of this thing because it's had such, and those screenings are all selling out in the US and now in the UK as well. It was like I saw it in Manchester, one of the first viewings in the UK, and it was a proper crammed room full of people, several of them in Joker outfits.
Great.
Because Vera is also on social media very prominently and sort of gave not the instruction, but the strong encouragement of like, well, if you're going to go see it, either dress in drag or just as the Joker, or preferably as a drag Joker. And the person I went with dressed as the Joker.
Yeah.
And I myself, I didn't get the full gear on, but I did do the Chelsea Dagger smile of the Heath Ledger Joker.
Hey, you made an effort, more than some people, I'm sure.
And there were tons of people in there who were in very detailed costumes as well. So, and I love seeing it on. Like it's like the party that never ends. The screenings of the People's Joker, because there's always people posting about it, and they're always in costume, and they're always getting really creative with stuff. And it's it's added so much of fuel to, but the fact that the strangest thing about it is that so someone makes a Vera Drew, who is an editor, basically was working as an editor, worked on a favorite of you and I, John. I think you should leave.
Yeah,
Vera Drew was an editor on that.
Apparently some work on Comedy Bang Bang.
Comedy Bang Bang. I think she edited Coffin Flop. Like that sketch. One of the greatest.
How did I not know this?
Yeah, one of the greatest sketches in the history of sketch comedy, Coffin Flop, edited by Vera Drew. It's a sketch I quote every single day. I didn't do shit. But yeah, fantastic. But yeah, and so someone would go from that and then be like, oh, so I've made a Joker spoof movie that then eventually gets a widespread release. But not only that, then lands on like proper full tilt film critics go to see this. And some of them, many of them, were putting it in their top 10 films of the year, going like, this is legitimately a great film.
That surprises me, right? I would do something like that. But it's a pleasant surprise to hear that critics would.
And I think that what in some ways too, people might be like, you might get the cynical eyebrow raise of like, oh well, they're just doing that because of what it is, rather than them thinking the film was genuinely that good. But when you watch it, it actually is like, not only is it very funny and very creative and it's just brimming with just life and energy, but it's so emotionally resonant.
Oh yeah, I was surprised by that actually. I didn't expect that. I thought, it's going to be a bit more silly. It is plenty silly. Don't get me wrong. I thought it's going to be all funny jokes and stuff, and it does make you laugh, but it's not really like joke heavy.
Yeah. It's just But I think it's the fact too. Like at the end, you really feel like this is genuinely coming from Vera's soul. Like
Oh,
it's a very personal tale. The things in there are like, this all feels very, it's a proper art piece. It's like it more than any other film I've seen in recent memory. This feels like it's coming from a deeply personal place.
Oh yeah, this is her life, just sort of put into Gotham.
Yeah, yeah. It brought up a kind of interesting thing for me in that, of the trans material that I've encountered recently. I've noted that. So I saw this very, like, within a couple of weeks after having watched. I saw the TV Glow.
Oh, fantastic movie! Yeah.
And that comes, people aren't aware of. I saw the TV Glow. Amazing film. It's not going to be for everyone, just in terms of the tone of it. It's very slow. It was marketed as like, this is a horror movie, and you watch it and like,
it's not at all. No,
it's like a horror movie in like an existential kind of way.
Yeah, if you're scared about thinking about your soul, thing.
Yeah. And it's not overtly about the trans experience, but if you read between the lines, it's very much like, this is another very personal probably to the writer director, them talking about their transness.
Oh god, yeah, no. I think anyone who's trans, or even like just like gender non-conforming and stuff, you're gonna know instantly what it's about. Whereas I think maybe some like cishet people might not.
Well, that's what not to go on a whole other thing just about, like, the quality of I Saw the TV Glow. The reason I'm bringing it up specifically is because it's not an outright, spoof like the People's Joker is, but it is heavily reliant on material from elsewhere. So it's it's about someone who used to be obsessed with an old TV show in the 90s,
which is blatantly Buffy.
It's Buffy, but it's also The Adventures of Pete and Pete. And
There's a bit of Pete and Pete in there, defo.
Literally, Pete and Pete are in there. Like the actors are in there, and they use like the opening credits of the thing is the fonts from Buffy. It's got a bit of Power Rangers in there, but it's kind of Goosebumps, that whole kind of thing, and it's very much designed to evoke the vibe of like the kind of hazy nostalgia that Pete and Pete actually has, but also just of like nostalgia for the 90s in general.
Maybe that's why we connected with it, because it's like, oh, that's when we were kids.
Yeah. But then it's using a lot of that too, and then sort of putting it through a prism. And then it's about to show the pink opaque, and it's like, oh, it's sort of like you're seeing the world through an opaque kind of thing. But the fact it's called the pink opaque is a very LGBT coded kind of thing. But by the end though, it never gets into anything about a trans character or anything like that. But it ends in it goes into a very soul aching kind of thing about like someone not being the person they're supposed to be. Yeah. And I can, and the great thing about the film is, to your point, John, I watched it and I was like, well, this is clearly about, because it's from a trans director, it's about the trans experience, but it was done in such a tactful way, and in such a sort of like clear, concise way. I would be like, anyone could empathize with this, because
I think it's more about as well, like it's about the character coming to the realization and stuff, but almost without realizing it. Which is very different to this movie, because obviously Vera's character is like, I'm trans, like quite quickly.
Oh yeah, from the word go. But yeah, I Saw the TV Glow has the actual message of the whole thing, basically, that you can get through to anybody is like, it's like, you're not the person you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. It's like, what if you realize you're going through life and you were occasionally hit by the realization of like, much like David Byrne was saying about like, well, how did I get here? Is that like the horror of just like, oh, Jesus Christ, I am not supposed to be the person I am now. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, this is all off.
Yeah, and I think everyone gets that, which is a really great way to approach marketing. The film is so like, it's never going to be a mainstream hit. Like, I Saw the TV Glow because it's so odd. But it's a way to win over even potentially like homophobic audiences, because then you're like, well, this is how a trans person might feel. This is how I felt as a trans person. And they could be like, oh, I get it now, because I feel that way sometimes. It's just about normal things as well.
Agree, right? That's its strength. But on the flip side, the strength of this is that it's the complete opposite.
Yeah. But also, so this movie is reliant on, utilizing and reshaping material that people already know. As is, I Saw the TV Glow. And I recently read a book as well called Summer Fun, which was, I just picked it up in the local small publisher's bookshop on Smithtown Road, like the Dead Ink Book Club.
I knew it would be that one as soon as you said it was on Smithtown.
Yeah. And Summer Fun I picked up because it seems like it's kind of like a fictionalized version of like the story of Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, and I'm a big Beach Boys fan. As I read it, it's like, it's like the retold. It's from a trans writer retelling the story of Brian Wilson, creating a trans character from it.
Oh,
and there's little twists in there too, where it goes back and forth in time between different characters, and so it's like someone's really, really, really obsessed with this band from the '60s, and you're like, so it's clearly the Beach Boys, and then they bump into a character that like. Eventually it's just like, why are you playing that song? My mother wrote that song. And you're like, is it going to be, and as you're reading it, you're like, is it going to be that like, the guy in charge of the band like stole the songs from a woman, and that's going to, and it's all about how, this dude screwed over some lady who actually wrote the songs. And then you find out, no, the guy transitioned. He is the mother.
Incredible.
She is the mother. And that and it goes on from there too, and there's like the fact that like they do things similar to the People's Joker as well, in that like the dead naming, like Vera's name is bleeped out. Vera's dead name is bleeped out of the film for the most part, and in Summer Fun, the dead name of the character is always just B and then a line. You never find out.
Fantastic!
But also
I
evoking
loved it in this, but I wasn't sure how it was going to work when you started that bit. How it was going to work in a book.
But and also too the fact that it's B and then like a line is like also Brian Wilson. That's what you're going for.
Brian,
yeah. But then they're using a story that's been established to tell a trans tale, and so I was kind of thinking like, is this a common thing throughout trans media? Where because it makes sense as well to sort of like reshape material into something new, because in many ways people will say like, you're reshaping your gender into something new. But then I don't know. Maybe
though you're becoming who you are, you still have to go through that sort of transformation. Thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's potentially like an offensive way of putting that, though.
No,
be like you're changing. You've taken something established and you're changing it into something that represents you. I think that's like that could be viewed as. But I was wondering are there more examples of that in trans media? Because I guess so much of drag is also just like you take an established thing. And then you like twist it and you turn it around.
Exactly. That's what 90% of it is.
Yeah. So it was just noticing as a trend. It was like, so that seems to be a thing. Yeah. That's it. But then the People's Joker does that like to like 1,000,000,000%. like everything is just like, they're just twisting this, that, and the other, and everything is like it exists in its own bizarre warped world where you're just like up is down, black is white, and there's scenes where they're just cartoon characters for some reason. There's a puppet shows up at the end and they have a musical number, and you're just like, I don't know if this is supposed to be out of place in this world or what's happening
it's
anymore.
It's not out of place. That's how I don't know. But this is what's really cool. Like, you talk about reshaping things. The obvious thing people would think is, obviously, Batman stuff. But there's so many other things as well. Like, I even love like the little bits like the United Clown Bureau, UCB.
Yeah.
Because if you know anything about American comedy, listeners, which you probably do, because most of our listeners are American, UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade.
Yeah.
that name is chosen in this movie for a very specific reason.
Well, yeah. So if people don't know, like the Upright Citizens Brigade is a sort of comedy troupe in America where so many massively famous comedians have sort of passed through that veil, basically. Too
many. That's what I hear, and I think that's what you get from this.
Yeah, Amy Poehler was one of them. The Broad City Girls, Abby Jacobson and Ilana Glazer. Notably, Ilana Glazer's brother is in this as well, Elliot. Who,
of course, yeah.
Popped up, and he's talking about spoofing other things. Because they do the whole thing about like, the Red Hood gang is presented in this as like, the Joker's found family, and you have Timmy Two Times, And he's just
He's
like, oh,
fantastic. He's one of my favorite bits of the film.
oh yeah, but it's like, oh, I'm gonna go do some poppers, which is that whole scene is a spoof of Goodfellas and Jimmy Two Times.
It's the only bit I know of Goodfellas.
Yeah, the Jimmy Two, that infamous character, was like, oh, I'm gonna go get the papers. Although I was kind of like, and maybe it was just one of those things of like, I know from doing so many episodes of Batman, there's some things you just don't land on in the moment. But like Timmy Two Times, and it's like, why isn't it Timmy Two Faces? Like,
well, they already had a Two-Face sort of reference.
But they have like 5 Jokers in it.
Well, that's true, I suppose.
Yeah,
no, that's one of my favorite bits of the movie as well. I love the way the cast of UCB, which is also a parody of SNL, obviously, which we love because we hate that. I love the way the cast of that are all literally Jokers.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And they have to all look like a Joker.
Oh, so many of the things are like, getting into like... Before we get off the point, I do want to bring up, like, yeah, John, you said, like, oh, me and you don't like SNL. And I love the fact that there's a very, very specific point to joke at the end of, like, this show's been going on for, like, 40 years. You'd think it would be better. Like,
yeah.
It's like, it's clearly repping the shit out. Just going, yeah, SNL is just, like, this comedy institution that we all have to just acknowledge is just shit, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
you watch it and you like it because you're supposed to. Not because you actually find it funny.
And then people keep going like, oh, the only generation of SNL people like is always the version they grew up on. I was like, yeah, that might be indicating that like you're young and you don't know any better. And the fact that like it's like that for everyone would indicate that, well, maybe none of it's any good.
Well, even Ra's al Ghul in this, who is Joker's favorite comedian, He's not like funny.
No.
He's weird. He's really weird, and I love it. But it's not funny.
It's everything. As soon as this guy was presented as Ra's al Ghul, I was like, what? This is nothing Ra's al Ghul-ish about it. But even his whole thing is like, I don't think I've seen anybody like this guy ever.
No, he's exactly like someone you would get in an I Think You Should Leave sketch.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. He would be like one of those. He's up there with the guy chowing down the burger, or the promise me you'll never do anything, that's a rule, like that kind of guy.
He's fantastic. When he first appeared in this movie, I was unsure. I'm like, oh, I don't know about this guy. But I've now watched this a couple of times. Every time I see him, I like him more. I now love him as much as Joker does. Yeah. And
the fact he gets one of the really great lines though towards the end when he's actually properly mentoring Joker the Harley Quinn. But then, how does it exactly goes where the Joker
is it about the? Hang on, I've got it written down. I think. Give me a second. Here's me talking. Is it about the clownfish?
I think it's the whole thing about clownfish, and then there's just one little exchange between them where. Like I think Vera says something along the lines of like, oh, well, the people's Joker, what would what would he do? And then Ra's al Ghul kind of shoots back with like, well, I'm sure she will know what to do, as a kind of indication of like, you are the people's Joker, and I'm acknowledging you now as a female and stuff like that. And it's I just remember, and it's a little moment, but it's just a very like, that's beautiful.
I like that with Ra's. Actually, he does it another time. He does it a bit later on when Lorne Michaels, just called Lorne Michaels, which I'm shocked at, where he's like, oh well, what is he doing? And Ra's is like, exactly what I trained her to do. Like he never once questions gender. Yeah. He's like, oh, no, okay.
Oh, so you got the last line of the movie, too, is a very sweet little call back to Willy Wonka, the Gene Wilder. And, of course, you might not got it, John, because you despise.
No, I got it. Even though I hate that goddamn movie.
But the whole, like, do you want to know whatever happened to the little boy who got everything he ever wanted? She grew up happily ever after. It's just it's a really sweet, sentiment, But,
especially because earlier on you've got like the opposite of that, where Joker's I suppose not Joker at that point. I don't know what to call him because you're not supposed to use the dead name.
Oh yeah, you can't say just beep. But
I could just say Vera.
If we beep it, then people will be like, well, they kept having to beep the name Dick throughout the. So does Dick Grayson showed up on this again? Chris O'Donnell's Dick Grayson. Although I'm actually surprised there's not many. We got so many random. Okay, we got Robert Wool, etc. But no mention of Chris O'Donnell, which is a shame. So I'm sure he was probably even there himself, and like, please mention me.
But yeah, the gender thing, like, because obviously there's the flip of what we were saying earlier on. There's a bit where Vera's talking about like trans representation on TV growing up was, like corpses in police dramas, and the policeman finds the body. He's like, "You mean she's a he?" and shoots himself in the head.
Oh yeah, but the show's called Suicide Cop.
Suicide Cop.
Which is fun. So it's like they have a recurring thing as well. You hear in the background episodes of Suicide Cop, and it's always just a cop killing himself.
It sounds fantastic.
But it also seems a little bit of a kind of maybe thinly veiled ACAB knock as well. Like, well, maybe all cops should like that kind of. Because I love the thing as well they do where you get briefly are shown President Lex Luthor. And it's just Kevin Spacey. It's a shot of Kevin Spacey in Superman Returns. And then you just hear later on, like, yes, President Luthor was found dead in a Russian piss bar.
It's like the worst possible death.
Yeah, like garroted or something. And it's just like, it's obviously just a little screw you to Kevin Spacey. Like,
loved that. Oh, but the Ra's al Ghul thing as well. The bit I liked in that sort of section you were talking about was... when he tells the story about clownfish changing genders, because it's true, they do that when the like women run the group. What do you call them? A school.
Yeah.
When the woman dies, like the next man changes.
Yeah.
To be a woman, and they take control then.
Just like Jurassic Park.
Just like Jurassic Park. In fact, there's a great line about that. The singer Alaska, the drag queen. She's got a song about the dinosaurs all being women. It's a song for Gina. Listen to that, everybody.
But that's obviously what Beyonce was writing about with Who Run the World Girls was actually about clownfish.
It was about clownfish. Because he comes out, I wrote it down, he comes out with the line, clownfish know that identity is not fixed. What you were before is irrelevant to who you are today.
Yeah,
that's actually especially in a movie like this. That's very, very moving.
Yeah,
and coming from this character. Well.
Oh yeah, because the guy just seems like he's going to be some sort of schlubby. He's just a bit of a bum joke. This guy, and then just like no, he's actually a really great, very like supportive character.
That's actually a line that, although it's explicitly about trans identity and things, you could interpret that in lots of ways. I think as a cis het person, you could still take a lot of inspiration from what he's saying there. Because what you were before is irrelevant to who you are today. I think that's an important lesson to people to know about growth and moving and on and changing. And
that little scene also brought back like powerful memories for me of an infamous. I don't even know if it's infamous. I think it might have just been famous for people who were just there at the time.
Famous.
Famous. But there's an Irish TV ad with the most Northern Irish accents I've ever seen presented, including like in Dairy Girls. Their accents weren't as thick as the Northern Irish accents presented in this advert, where I think it was for like Kerrygold butter or something.
Oh, that had a resurgence recently, didn't it, when Lurpak got expensive.
Well, Kerrygold was always secretly the best anyway. Everyone, even I remember Kiri Callaghan. Of course, with a name like Callaghan, of course she's going to support Kerrygold.
She's got to.
Yeah, but one of our most frequent guests, her doing a YouTube video about how to make like the perfect toasty, basically, and she made a whole thing of like you have to buy Kerrygold, and she's in America for God's sake.
I am a Kerrygold person. I do like it a lot. But I'm going to be honest. My absolute favorite is you get some French butter with some salt crystals in it. That's even better. Sorry.
But yeah, it's just like this kid coming in from school, and then just the mum being like, "Oh, did you look at the shape of him?" And then like the granddad being like, "I'll take care of him." And he goes, and the kid's like watching the fish, and the granddad comes over and he's just like, "Is that a goldfish?" And then the little kid's like, "No, granddad, that's a Japanese fighting fish." And the granddad's just like, "So he fights with all the other fish, does he?" And then the kid's like, "Yeah, granddad." And then the guy's like, "Is that why he doesn't have any friends?" And the kid has a little moment of, "Oh, you shouldn't be fighting with people." Like, and because clearly the kid was sent home for fighting in school. And it's supposed to, and I think the granddad gives him a piece of toast with Kerrygold. The thing is, it was going to turn out as it was a completely unrelated butter brand. I don't remember, like, their advert, all I remember about it is the intense Northern Irish accents and the fact that toast was involved somehow, and fish. And I didn't actually remember the brand name, which is like the exact opposite to what an ad's supposed to do.
It's got to be Kerrygold. I don't want to sound bad, but what other butter do you have?
It could have been, maybe it was the dreaded Lurpak. It was just there, like, oh, we were trying to infiltrate the Irish market as well.
It can't be that.
No, but it had the same energy as Vera and Rachel Gould. Was the two thickly Northern Irish.
Well, I've looked it up and I've got the advert.
Oh wow! Is this Kerrygold?
Let me see. Live on air. I'm on the Northern Irish subreddit. So,
deep into the pits over here, the Northern Irish subreddit.
No, it is Golden Cow.
Oh wow! Well, to be fair,
close.
You know, maybe if it had been about the Japanese fighting cow, I might have remembered that.
I'm going to keep this up. I'm going to send it to you once we finish recording, and if I remember, I'll put it in the group. But if not, I mean, it's on Reddit, people. Just put in, is that a Siamese fighting fish?
And then next highest episode will be us reviewing that advert minute by minute.
We could do that. It's not long. Hang on. The advert is exactly 40 seconds long.
Oh, there you go. Incoming review. It probably will turn out like, oh, that's the aunt from Dairy Girls or something. Is the mum or something like that.
How did we even get onto butter? Because the fish. I'm trying to think how else do we proceed from here? There's so much to talk about.
I mean, one thing I meant to bring up there when you mentioned, of course, Lorne Michaels in a bizarre CGI form.
Yeah, that was I thought he was great. There's only one bit I didn't really get where for some reason he loses his clothes.
Oh, I think that's just like a little. I think it's also just like a little screw you to Lorne Michaels.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. It's basically like not only is SNL crap, Lorne Michaels is crap too.
Yeah, that he's a sleazebag and he's just he's not interested in comedy really. He's just interested in homogenizing comedy. And then
which is essentially what's happened, and we've been telling Americans this for years on this show.
I don't know, maybe like then Vera's like hopefully Vera will come back on our 66 season to talk about some Batman, but. It could be that, like, there's the idea of, I think she mentions, like, oh, I could be the first openly trans person on a national TV show.
Yes.
Could be. You never know. Maybe Vera tried out for Saturday Night Live and was rejected.
I 1000% believe that's what happened. This is so personal.
Yeah. And then also, how do you do, because Lorne Michaels is voiced by Maria Bamford.
That blew my mind. Maria Bamford I actually invited on one of my other podcasts, and she couldn't do it. But I got a very, very nice no from her, like a nice.
No, I remember you told me about that. I thought it was for Batman. She was
no. I think it was kind of I was floating any of the shows. Because if you can get Maria Bamford, I mean,
of course. But I think that would also be a little screw you to Lorne Michaels. Would be like, I've got you're voiced by a woman in this as well.
Yeah,
because it's
and I wonder if maybe she is someone who doesn't really like Lorne Michaels as well.
Well, I'm really curious because I couldn't find any details about it. Apparently, because the reason Warner Brothers kicked off is because this was screened at like TIFF, and that was the first big public screening, and that was when Warner Brothers kind of went like, whoa, you're taking it to like film festivals. No, you can't do that.
Again, I get it.
But apparently, after that TIFF screening, before the TIFF screening, Lorne Michaels was voiced by Sarah Silverman. And then after that screening, apparently she asked for her dialogue to be re-recorded.
Oh, come on. I mean, it ended up good, but still.
Because Sarah Silverman is, like, notorious big Hollywood lefty. Like, I don't know if it's because, like, I don't know why she would...
I don't want to get too political, right? But I'm going to have to. She's one of those people... She thinks she's a lefty. She's not. She's a liberal. Mm. I'm a lefty, right? We don't like liberals. They're an enemy. They're an enemy because they don't actually achieve anything. They do nothing. It's all lip service. It's all talk. And then when it comes down to it, they fold every time.
Yeah. Although Sarah Silverman, if you should want to come on to Batman.
Come and defend yourself, Sarah.
She was on Indiana Jones Man at that time.
Yeah, and she was fantastic on that. I mean, you know. But, I'm purely talking about politics here, not her actual...
I remember during the 2016 campaign, because she was so pro-Bernie, and then as soon as Bernie got screwed over by the Democrats. She was like, no, well, we have to vote for Hillary though. And then everyone was just like, no, we wanted Bernie, and you like, what the hell? So yeah,
I did the same thing here. We're not going to get too into the weeds, but the person I wanted got screwed over by the party. So I used to be a member of the party. I used to go around knocking on doors. So I was like, well, I'm leaving then. I'm off.
Yeah,
bye.
yeah.
And I've never voted for them again.
Yeah, that's what. No, we can't get into the whole thing about that. But anyway, but those I'll try to delve in, and there'll be other things. Maybe Sarah Silver may have been very amicable, but it just seems very odd that unless it was because I didn't think like Lauren. Maybe she hadn't seen the animation or something.
No, it's because she's a liberal.
I don't know, because I know she was on SNL. I don't know if Maria Bamford was ever on SNL. I know Maria Bamford.
Off the top of my head, I don't think she was, and that's why I'm thinking she. Like they chose someone who's like, well, you don't like Lorne.
Yeah.
Because I get Maria's one of those I could imagine auditioning for it, but she's too weird.
Yeah. But that's the thing. That's the annoying thing, because everything about SNL, we've probably said this on the show before, is that good people come out of it. Like Mike Myers was on SNL. Eddie Murphy was on SNL. Dan Aykroyd. There's so many great people came from SNL.
They're just not good on it.
They're never good on it. And like that's why I'm sitting waiting. Because currently they got Sarah Sherman on there, who I love her vibe. I love her way she dresses. I love her.
Is she the one who had the other name though? The
Sarah Squirm. Because she's like
it.
a really gross out, like body horror based prop comedian. And I'm like, whenever she gets out of that hellhole, this is going to be a great career. It might be a big career because it seems like she's just really weird. But I'm just looking forward to whatever she does after SNL is going to be something I'm never going to go and watch her sketches because they're on SNL and they're garbage. But
yeah. Well, actually, that weirdly ties into something I was thinking earlier, because I was kind of thinking, I kind of hope DC try and somehow incorporate Vera into something.
Oh, right? It would be great. It would be great.
But at the same time, I was like, well, is that not literally the plot of this, though? Where UCB try and get her to sell out and incorporate her into their nonsense.
Well, it's the whole there's a real thing about, like, the homogenization and this is sort of the standardization of... Because then we have a scene where prior to transition, Vera goes to try out for the UCB and gives her dead name and is instantly accepted. It's just like, oh, white male. And I think they say like, oh, you are found to be suitable for comedy re-education.
Yes, after scanning her penis as well.
Yeah. And to go in and be like, the fact is comedy re-education. It's like, whatever you think is funny, we're going to tell you what's funny because it's all going to be the same bullcrap that we always.
Well, she even says in that scene when it says that, she's like, well, do you not want to see my act or anything?
Yeah.
And they're not interested in that.
And that notably too, we'd be remiss if we didn't point out that whole scene is framed exactly like when Bruce Wayne goes into the box in Batman Forever, and the whole tell me your deepest, darkest secrets and all that.
Yeah.
And there's so many just visual references to Batman Forever throughout. The Batman Forever mobile makes an appearance at one point.
There's even a bit where she gets kind of zapped by a bit on top of the TV. It zaps her in the brain, and it made me think of the Riddler.
Yeah.
Not the Riddler in this. That's a different Riddler.
It's like this disgraced tech billionaire Edward Nicholas.
I do love that bit where he creates an app.
Yeah, the Riddler app. But
what is it? You get it's a dating app that's also a rideshare, and you also get a riddle every day.
Yeah. Which I feel like probably is the thing. Someone's just like, you gotta keep spitballing these ideas because one of these demented things is gonna catch on to someone.
Well, yeah, I can't fault him in a way. I can fault him for his stuff that disgraces him, I suppose. Yeah. Later, he gets arrested, doesn't he?
Again, so UCB is obviously it's Upright Citizens Brigade, but also SNL because they mentioned too. Oh, I love that! From the get go, you see our special guests. And one of them's that Joker meme kid from 2008 or something.
Yeah. Or every time, I think it's only twice. Every time you see the other the guests on it, it's genius.
And they've always got one of them was Rudolph Hess or something like that.
Yeah, I've written that down as well. Hang on, I've got the exact. Here you go. The UCB cast towards the end. It goes David Spade, Rudolf Hess, Hermann Goering, David Spade.
A dude I've seen from SNL's 50th anniversary. David Spade was there again, like lingering around. You just can't get rid of that guy.
Oh God, it killed me. Not only referencing one Nazi, two. And there's a Nazi joke earlier on about Treblinka.
Yeah. Oh, the Treblinka joke. I was just like, oh, that's pretty. That's the one thing too. We just have to get into the guy playing the Penguin.
Can I just right before you say anything, because you might be different to me. He might be my favorite bit of the entire film.
Oh no, I loved him. Yes. And I love too. Again, like in the, it's one of the things too where it's just like I almost feel guilty having to have to point it out. But like it's just nice that in a movie that's very trans positive, et cetera, one of the guys who's presented as a unabashed ally is a white cis het male. Because it's like, usually it would be like, that kind of person will be presented as a constant antagonist because those people like that are a source of antagonism, you know.
Well, if anything, the other trans character is a bit of a, I don't say a villain, but, you know, a complicated character, unlike him.
I think that's because they do make it, everyone is allowed to be interesting. So it's not like, not all trans people are flawless and not all, the fact that Raj Al Ghul's very, is a presumably straight male is very accepting. And it's just like, it's nice to see that. And then, Penguin too is just like you're expecting at some point, he's gonna screw up and say something, but it's like, no, he's just a nice guy. He's just a supportive, genuine good friend to Vera, and always a support, like always has her back, and is there with good advice. And it's just like, it's just nice to see in a movie like this where it's just like. There can be, straight characters who aren't scumbags. Basically, it's like,
no, you're right. Actually, it is good because
it might make people who are that maybe potentially in any way homophobic watching it could be like, it should be more like the Penguin because he's a good guy. Like he's.
I know, it sounds weird us saying that after reviewing that Penguin show, but be more like the Penguin.
The thing is, though, the first how many episodes was the Penguin? Like 9 episodes. The first 8. I was like, be more like the Penguin. He's great. And it was only the last one we were like, Jesus Christ.
Be more like this Penguin, people, because he is, not only is he funny and he's like a great actor, but the character, he doesn't even really bring up the trans thing.
No.
Like, he just wants mention, like, he's like, it's okay if you like dudes. Like, he doesn't care. He's like, in fact, he's trying to hook her up.
Well,
with,
it's just nice as well, because at one point, like, he just knows the character as her dead name, and then she comes out in a spoof of the Joker movie where Mark Maron, Joaquin Phoenix says that Mark Maron, like, when I'm coming out, can you introduce me as Joker? And he's like,
I forgot that was a reference. Yeah.
And then when she says this to Penguin, he's just like, can you, instead of calling me by my name, can you call me Joker the Harlequin? And from that point onwards, he's just like, yeah, fine. He never questions it. He's never like, no, I'm not changing. He's just like, yeah, fine. And then from that point onwards, this is always refers to her as Joker. It's like
because he's a chill dude.
He's a chill dude. He's living in some of his lines too, because we've dealt with like a lot of Penguin material over our time, and Penguin puns and all the whole Batman Returns of this, that, and the other. Them making little, jokes about him being a penguin. We're going to have a bunch of it in the upcoming season in '66 because we get to delve into Burgess Meredith's Penguin.
Well, we'll be doing the noise he does all the time in this.
But just like the amount of little, like, he introduces his act and he's just like, some say I'm an aquatic taste. It's just like
that killed me.
It was like fantastic. It's like there's still stuff you can get out of the Penguin for jokes. Like,
this guy's so good. Like, obviously, I want Vera to succeed. I want this guy to succeed too.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever he does now, he's so good in this. He sells it. I never even questioned that his fake nose is really fake.
Yeah. Oh no, there's no way you should, like, because they don't even put makeup around his ears or anything. It's just like, well, we know we've just slapped this on him. Who cares? It doesn't matter.
It's great. Oh, and he's got another great line. I think it's him who says it. He says he's like Louis C.K. before the unpleasantness.
Oh, it's a great recurring joke is that they'll keep citing like inspirational comics, and it's always some disgraced guy.
Because Vera's like Cosby before the unpleasantness.
Yeah, I think there's a couple
There's another one.
Yeah.
There's a third one.
Well, comedy rule of 3, so there'll have to be a third one. But yeah, it's but it's always well, that's even to that point, because they have briefly. Because I remember the controversy as it happened in real time. You get a lot of cuts to TV. It's a bit like it is very much like not just so much of that RoboCop remake where everyone was doing their own individual scenes, but just like RoboCop in general, in that you constantly cut back to like RoboCop and The Dark Knight Returns, because The Dark Knight Returns is constantly, as a comic, cutting back to news feeds and stuff like that. And all the stuff about the Tunnel of Love is directly from The Dark Knight Returns. And it's like you get like there's a version of Lois Lane and then Clark Kent, which is like also a trans woman, presumably, because it seems like it's Superman, but it's a woman. But they are, or maybe I guess it doesn't really matter what gender they are. But and of course then they have Tim Heidecker. Of course he's in it quite a bit as the
that blew my mind,
because he's Alex Jones, but they're calling him he's not playing Knox.
No, but it's Alex Jones.
Yeah.
It's what it is. It's InfoWars, or what is that? What it was called? InfoWars.
Yeah, InfoWars, and he actually does address at one point too, like, at one time I infiltrated Bohemian Grove, and I remember like, Alex Jones claimed that he infiltrated Bohemian Grove, and he saw this, that, and the other. He was the one who had supposedly shot that footage of them with the big owl statue and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures.
Yeah, and then you're just like,
I'm not saying, because obviously I think he's full of crap, right? And I'm not saying that they're doing some weird rituals, but the pictures and the video that I've seen, it's a bit strange.
My thing
I'll
with
say
it,
that
though,
it's a bit strange.
I know there's always a story of like, I'm sure everyone knows what Bohemian Grove is, but in case you don't, Bohemian Grove is a apparently very secretive sort of resort, basically, that the elite go to and hang out.
They even reference it in one of the Twin Peaks books, don't they?
Yeah, and there's a story about the fact that like Hunter S. Thompson used to be like a somewhat, like level-headed journalist. Like he got into some crazy stuff, but he was always like he was sort of could do a job basically. And apparently the legend is he went to Bohemian Grove, and the stuff he saw there messed him up so much that's what spiraled him into drugs and stuff.
That's a bit far-fetched.
And then Alex Jones apparently infiltrated and filmed some stuff there. And you're thinking it's going to be like Eyes Wide Shut. It's going to be, it's all legends of like child sacrifices and stuff like this. And I've watched the footage because you get it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it just looks like a bunch of sad people standing around like, and just doing like make-believe with like a big owl statue. And like the way that, fraternities and stuff work in America, where they're like...
But I find them weird, because we don't have them here.
Yeah, but they are weird, and they are pointless, and it's all a bit, and it just seems like a way of just inflicting pain on people for no particular reason. And it's just, but the bonds it creates, it's like, you can create bonds without being a dick. Like, what's the problem?
Yeah, can't you just like go to the pub and have a drink?
Yeah. But and the whole thing, the idea about like the Masons and stuff like that. But it's also just like, it just seems like you're just like, it's people who would look down on people who were into like, going to the sci-fi conventions, et cetera, has been like, oh, you're sad weirdos. But then the things they'd go and do is like, well, this is sad and weird that you're just like putting on robes and dancing around an owl statue when it's just, it's just a thing we do for fun. Like, it's like...
Well, no, that's how I've always thought. People would make fun of my clothes and stuff. And I'm like, hang on, you're wearing like a little football kit so you can pretend that you're David Beckham.
Mm.
I'm like, that's pretty sad, really, when you think about it. You're like a 40-year-old man trying to be like your favorite little football man.
I think that maybe I'm being harsh as well in that, like, it's it's very saying it's very sad and stuff, but it is a bit like if 40, 50, 60s plus men want to just go to a place and hang out and then pretend to pray to a big owl statue as if that's going to do anything, then go ahead and do whatever you want.
It's because men want to hang out, no homo.
Yeah. Oh, totally. But then I get like, I would imagine the most scandalous things in Bohemian Grove would probably like, it probably is some homo stuff, but they're like, but it's all for the, it's no homo though, because it's for.
As long as you say no homo, it's fine.
It's, I was only sucking you off to make sure that no gay guy could do it first, that kind of.
Yeah. If I. Oh, God, no, I can't say that. Oh, you can edit this. I was going to say, if I drain your balls, then it means no. Yeah.
Oh, no. That's not getting cut. But yeah, so
I'm protecting you.
but the you get Reaper as well. The character of the Reaper pops up because Reaper is Jack Ryder in comic lore, and then becomes the character of the Reaper. And apparently, the person it was a fairly famous-ish comedian played that part originally. Also got landed with sexual abuse allegations. Was recast and et cetera, et cetera. Because I remember the controversy at the time and people going like in the moment on social media, like, Vera, are you gonna continue? Like, what's gonna happen there? And she was immediately like, "Oh no, we're gonna reshoot those scenes." Or like, it's only in for like 2 seconds, but like they're gonna reshoot that and cast someone else in that part.
That's a good idea, I think.
Yeah, but it's some people too, like, because there's a lot of like the guy who plays the Penguin isn't really famous, but we do get like Bob Odenkirk as Bob the Goon for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, literally like one line.
Yeah, but what was he saying? Like gooning all day long or something like that, or goon for life or something like that.
Goon, yeah, something like that. But either works.
I think it also has that vibe of like the because they had I think Vera talked about it when she was on the show. Like they could only get Robert Wool via cameo. And I think there's a little snippet of him going like, the things you're asking me to do, I cannot do on camera and stuff like that. I think that's
I got that right. Yeah, when I saw that for the first time, I didn't think twice. But it's when you see him at the very, very end, giving his actual genuine like support behind the movie, like not in a character or anything, that it recontextualized that earlier clip, and I was like, oh, that's clearly him saying, look, I can't be in your movie legally. But I support it all the way.
No, he seems like we already had our brush with Robert Wool, but like he seems
nearly got him. We could try again.
We could try again. He's like, oh, we're far removed from '89 now, but like I guess you're close. You're closer again by getting to '66. But
plus, yeah, it would just be fun. You could just chat to him about Batman. We could do a special.
Yeah.
We'll try again, listeners. We'll try again. We almost had him.
Yeah, just much like the Penguin, Joker, etc. We almost had him. It could have been like we just do an episode of like people who almost got Robert Wool for interviews, and just we all sit around playing cards. And then Vera comes on, but like the time I actually did get him. Well, I guess though she didn't get. She's like, I almost got him. I almost got him to be in the movie, but he is technically in the movie. But like I did pop because there's some people are fairly like Tim Heidecker's massive. It seems to be growing popularity every friggin' month. Like I can't escape from Tim Heidecker now. But I noted too that because Betty Boop makes a very, very brief cameo, and it's played by Sandy Honig, who's a comedian I love.
That name sounds very familiar to me.
She was she did a little short series called Three Busy Debras, and it was about three. Well, I was going to say three white, upper class, like sort of housewives of Beverly Hills type of characters. But although one of them was Sandy Honig, I don't think herself is entirely Caucasian, and there's one of them was an outright like Indian lady. But Three Busy Debras, they're all like little, like I think some of the episodes are like 6 minutes or something. And it's just like, it's that setup of like, they're all called Deborah, and it's all about their inane, rich lifestyles, but they're dementedly surreal. And like, just, it just goes off on very, very, I think like the town they live in is called like Curdville. And and it's absolutely lemon curd or something like that, and it's all obsessed with lemons and stuff like it. It's just a weird show. Really, really, really love it. But like, and Sandy Honig, you could tell like at the end credits, she was always the one who was like, all of them wrote it, but she seemed to be the most prominent. So when I seen her name pop up, I was like, I wish she was in this way more and stuff. But it just sort of gives you the vibe of like, there's the people who obviously have to transverse through UCB, and you get to a certain level of success. And then I guess you just have the people like potentially the UCB rejects, basically.
Yeah.
Who have to create their own kind of comedy culture, and that always seems to me to be like, well, the better comedy culture.
Well, it's always the better for like people like us, but I also imagine that happens all the time.
Oh, totally.
I reckon that's a regular thing. Like, well, I was rejected by them. Screw them. I'm going to do my own thing.
Well, then, like, it feels to me like someone like Sarah Sherman on SNL should be part of that group, but somehow it feels like, her being on SNL's them really been like, some producer one day was like, we need to do something different. let's let this one person through. And then
that's what it'll be, because that's what always happens in the media. That's what happened to essentially the punk bands. They're like, well, we can't have the Sex Pistols; they're too crazy. We'll pick one who are nice. We'll let one night. The Buzzcocks, they're quite nice.
Yeah,
let's let them through. So it's kind of like that. They give like one bit of representation, and they do it to Joker in this. Where they're like, well, we'll get you on for essentially for diversity. I think they even say that.
Oh yeah, I think at one point, actually, because it's Lorne Michaels says like, oh yeah, we're being incredibly diverse. And he leaves a little pause, and Vera has to be like, "Oh, congratulations!" Like, they kind of.
He's waiting for like isn't that great?
Yeah, waiting for the pat in the back. They're like, "Yeah, I'm throwing you a bone. Don't you want to praise me for that?" Like, which is always the case. So I think that was why that sometimes not to get it because right wing YouTube has made a whole friggin'. Like a giant, I think it's now slowly dying, but it's made a kind of cottage industry of just been negative about like Disney contact. That's why you have all these 45-year-old like ex-Marines and stuff coming on talking about like we're taking down Snow White.
Oh, it annoys me, right? And I'm not saying it's good. I haven't watched it because you know what? I saw the trailer. I'm not interested in watching it.
Oh, no.
So what I do is I just ignore it.
Yeah. Oh, my whole thing was just like, didn't even, sometimes, you'd be like, well, even jokingly say like, oh, going out to see Snow White this weekend, but it was just like, there's no point even mentioning it, because no one cares about this.
No, but I just don't understand why these people get so angry about it. Just leave it alone. I don't care about it. Am I angry? I'm angry about you being angry.
Yeah. I think though now it has become a hate click thing. It's how they make their living, basically. It's just like, you get people online going like, "Oh, woke," blah, 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 blah. Whereas like there's a kernel in some things, but Disney does where, much like Lorne Michaels is presented in this, where they'll come out and they'll toot their own horn about.
Oh yeah, they'll be like, "Oh, this is the first gay couple in a Disney movie," and it's like, okay, so there's like two women holding hands.
Yeah, or I mean, just like say when like the wave of hate Brie Larson got when Captain Marvel came out. And it was kind of at the same time, she was her and the Disney machine were really going on about like, is it the first female dancer? Aren't we great? And you're like, you can just do it and then not expect to be praised. You can just be like, yeah, we've done it. Let's just let the thing speak for itself. Like David Lynch saying like, the art is the talking. You don't have to come out and then just constantly suck yourself off about it. So one thing I wanted to point out as well, just because there's some genuinely very touching moments in this, particularly what goes on with Raish and Vera. The young Vera as a child actors it's a trepidatious ground to walk on. That kid is great. Like,
right? I was thinking that, and I normally hate all child actors. Like, I hate them in everything. He's good.
You sat watching Stranger Things, but like,
yeah.
This to every single scene.
All of these pieces of crap, get them out of this show. Just leave Winona.
Yeah, any scene that had David Harbour or Winona by themselves, you're just like sitting silently. And then as soon as any other scene started, you're like, whoa!
I went to the kitchen. I made a cup of tea because I'm English.
But then thankfully you'll be able to watch season 5 with all 47-year-old cast members.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well,
that was the best season. Everyone in there was like fucking near retirement.
People were saying that about her the other day. They were being very mean. They were like, oh, she looks really old. It's like, well, A, she's aged. B, she's got makeup on. Like, she doesn't look old.
I think she's married John Bon Jovi's kid now.
Yeah, she's got like Bon Jovi's now, like her surname.
Yeah, so she's
got a really long name. Let me actually get it.
Oh no, because it's Millie. Because her name's not
Millie Bonnie Brown.
Yeah, apparently it's always been Millie Bonnie Brown, but she goes by Millie Bobby Brown for whatever reason.
Here you go, Millie Bonnie. Oh, it's just Millie Bonnie Brown. It's really hard to say. Millie Bonnie Brown Bon Jovi.
So yeah, the way I remember it is because someone made a meme, and if you say it to the theme tune of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it works perfectly. Like Millie Bobby Brown Bon Jovi,
Millie Bonnie Brown Bon Jovi.
Yeah, so perfect. But someone did like the Turtles, the title, like the way it was presented in the 90s. The title font. with just her name. And from that, it's like, oh, that's how you say it. Millie Bobby Brown Bon Jovi. But, and then people were pointing out, too, like, as soon as she married New Jersey royalty, she started looking, it instantly just turned into Carmela Soprano. It's like, she looks, her hair is just Carmela Soprano's hair, too, from back in the day.
You have to legally do that. It's part of the thing. Interestingly, I've just seen it while looking that up, though, her name. She was born in Marbella. In Spain, and she's deaf in one ear.
Oh, wow. Well, but it's like another little throwback to Willy Wonka there, too. Like was it Veruca Salt saying something to Gene Wilder, and he's just like, I'm a little deaf in this ear. So you say it louder next time, and just walks on. Yeah, the fantastic performance by Gene Wilder. That, of course, John won't give the time of day to. But
no, won't do it.
Yeah.
Here's another weird... This might all get cut. There's another weird fact about her. Right, are you like me? You go, oh yeah, English actress.
Oh, she's very
Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah.
Get this. She lived in England for 4 years of her life.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Because she's very English when you hear her talk.
She's very English. She was born in Marbella. She moved to England when she was 4. Then she moved to Orlando when she was 8. So 4 years is all she lived, and it was in Bournemouth. So Bournemouth don't count.
Yeah. But you're thinking, Bournemouth, get out of England. Get out of here. Go over to Ireland, maybe they'll take you.
But it might as well be French.
It's but I think I know she's kicked up a whole thing about people saying this, that, and others about her. But to be fair, when I saw the set pics of those the male kids, I was just like, "Fuck off! Come on!" Like, it's like they all are clear. This is Chris O'Donnell territory you're getting into now. I know it can't be helped
with families and like struggles.
Yeah, they're going to be on. It's like, so what's happened between this season and last season? It's like, well, for me personally, I'm going through my second divorce.
They've got alcohol problems.
Yeah, there's going to be like friggin' Dustin complaining about it. Oh man, this alimony's killing me. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know how we went onto that. I don't care.
I don't think we're talking just praising that child actor for.
The kid.
Because he's genuinely really great. Like every scene with him in it, I was like, I really feel for this kid.
I can't imagine that's what Vera looked like as a kid, but at the same time, all I know of her really is this movie and a couple of like clips from like promoting the movie.
Apparently, there is a second film in the works, but unspecified as to what it's going to be.
I know. I kind of want that joke bit at the end to be a real movie. What is it? It's let me find it. It's the horror thing at the end.
Oh, right, yeah. I forgot all about that.
The People's Nightmare. Freddy versus Joker.
Oh, yeah, 1,000,000%. Because obviously I absolutely adore the Nightmare on Elm Street series as well. So,
and I know that's in there as a joke. Because I know she's like, I just wanted... Look, I've got this out now, finally. We're done. We're done. Yeah. But, oh, God, that would be such a good movie.
The thing is, I'd almost want to, like, when, hope, and fingers crossed we will get Vera back on for 66.
We are going to try, listeners, but obviously she's now very in demand.
Well, I don't know. I think when she was on Mask of the Phantasm, that was, like, the height of it. So I think now maybe it's out in the world. It could have maybe potentially, like, she might have a bit more... But the thing is, I would almost want to be like, it's been so many years now. We can just not talk about the People's Joker when you're on, because it's like...
You could always use that as a hook. Like, look, if you don't want to bring that up at all, we won't bring that up.
Yeah. It's like some people said, like, when they bumped into random celebrities, and they're just like, just always go for the random... I
loved you in that one episode of a TV show you did when you were 18.
Yeah. It was way before it's now had, thanks to drag culture, a massive renaissance. But of course, the film Death Becomes Her was massive flop when it came out back in the day.
That's nuts to me, because I grew up with it. I think because I've got a sister a bit older than me. She loved it, so it sort of filtered down to me. So I grew up thinking, oh yeah, everyone loves that movie.
Yeah, but big Robert Zemeckis and freaking ton of like massive superstars, et cetera, in it.
Well, I've seen a drag version of it on the stage in Manchester at home.
But now, it's part of the drag culture, and it's sort of become like, oh, it's acclaimed cult classic. But frequent guest of the show, Lauren Ashley Carter, she grew up loving it. And when she worked she's in the movie Premium Rush, written by David Coop, who also wrote Jurassic Park, Spider-Man, etc., etc. When she met David Cope on set, she was like, "Oh, I love Death Becomes Her. It's one of my favorite films." And apparently, he was just like, "Why?" Like no one. He was just probably like, No one ever talks to me about Death Becomes Her. Like,
was he not aware that it's now a thing?
no, this was back. This was like back in like 2010.
That's still maybe I'm biased though again because I saw that movie like 3 or 4 times a year, so I just assumed everyone else did that.
No, that was my preamble. Was that now it's a acclaimed cult classic.
Did you not grow up watching it like
Oh
that?
no, I saw it like a bunch of times when I was a kid, but I was also aware it's like, oh, it's just a random movie that I enjoy the song sometimes.
Oh, wow.
But I think it was just because David Cope, from a business point of view, was just like that lost a ton of money.
Yeah, plus he probably doesn't interact with the people who are fans. He just probably sees it like the bottom line of like, oh no, that didn't sell well.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think it probably was like it was always around, but I think now it's been watched because now drag has become more mainstream. Word about Death Becomes Her is getting out more to younger people because of that, and now that like that's creating new fans of it. Whereas back then it was just like, like it'd be going up to like Andy Kaufman and been like, "Oh man, I really loved Heartbeeps," and he would just be like, "What?" It's like, no. What about my work on Taxi? Like that kind of thing.
No, I kind of like it though. I think they sometimes appreciate it because it shows that you're not just gassing them up.
Yeah.
You actually do know something about them.
Although Andy Kaufman also gets a mention in this as well when they're describing anti-comedy, and he's just like Vera's like. Just like like Andy, and then also because Andy Kaufman's act used to be called Foreign Man, which eventually evolved into Latka in Taxi.
Yeah, there's a reference to that on the poster.
Yeah, but the poster is also just the poster of Borat.
It's Borat, Foreign Man, yeah.
And then we get like a third reference as well, where we have because I wrote that down of like Foreign Man will leave you saying, "Can they get away with that?" Quote by Alexander Knox. So I was like, hey, our boy.
Yes.
Again, of anyone's Vera Drew, the only person to drag Knox back into the limelight here.
Well, she's funny. Her pronouns are he and her.
Oh, that was another fantastic line. That was because again the gas chamber joke. I found it.
It's a bad joke.
It's a bad joke, but the penguin has a kind of like a real like, oh man, no, that's just like really offensive.
Well, they have a conversation about it outside when they're like smoking, don't they?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I was like it's. I mean, I guess it's offensive, yeah. But it's like I kind of like I didn't like burst out laughing at it, but I was like. That's a decent enough. It's a joke. Like it's.
I kind of find it more funny what he said though. If you listen, like it's subtle. It's in the background because it's fading out of the scene where he's like, that might have flown 5 years ago, but not now. With anti-Semitism on the rise. It's like, oh, geez, if only they knew the world we're in now.
Yeah. Oh man. That's good. Yeah, because there's something towards the end as well. That I remember being like. Oh yeah, because we get the spin on. It's going to be difficult to say because the name is difficult to say. In DC Comics, it's Mr. Mxyzptlk, and in this,
right? Yeah, I tried to write that down for my notes, like the way it's spelt in this, and I gave up.
Yeah, because in this they refer to the character as Mxyzptlk.
Which I loved. I'm a mix. I've got that on all my stuff.
Yeah, it's a good spin on the character, and the character. I think if I'm gonna make a prediction, okay? Because we're now, as of recording, we have yet to see James Gunn's Superman. I'm very much looking forward to it though, because I'm just curious to see what the hell he's gonna do with it. Because so many people are going like, it's going to be terrible because he doesn't suit the material. And I'm like, but he knows, James Gunn kind of mostly knows what he's doing a lot of the time. So it's like.
He does usually, it mostly hits.
Yeah, so it's always usually, and even like the ones that are loses, I always find like, like a Lolly Love years ago. I was like, oh, it's pretty interesting though. So but knowing James Gunn is a guy who's into like weird deep cuts. Again, the guy who made Groot and Rocket Raccoon, household names. So this one we're probably going to get, it's going to be Lex Luthor, and he's already introduced Crypto, which is everyone's going crazy because Crypto. Oh, why wouldn't you? And it's last a lighter-hearted DC movie, etc., etc. Let's go Crypto. I'm guaranteeing you probably by the end of that movie, we'll be introduced to the concept of Brainiac, and it'll probably gear up for part 2 with Brainiac. If not, the end of part 1 will probably be Brainiac's the villain. And then I can imagine in a James Gunn DC universe, we might get Mr. Mxyzptlk as a full tilt Superman villain on the big screen within the next 10 years, basically.
Okay, that's a big. I don't want to say leap because that makes it sound like you're wrong. But you know what I mean? It's a bold prediction.
I think that's the type of thing he'd want to do, because then you can do so. Because Mr. Mxyzptlk, I think, usually introduced. He's like Bat Knight, you know. It's a silly character, but you can do also. Well, it's a character who can it's a trickster character who can warp reality. Like you can do whatever with that character. And I think it was in the Lois and Clark back in the day. I think it was. Maybe Curtis Armstrong played that part? I remember he was in it. Anyway.
Wow. Really? I didn't realize the character was in that.
Oh, yeah, no, he had to go. Well, they had in mind. They ran for like 7 seasons or whatever.
Yeah, they had to go through everything they could.
I remember he was like a sexy, long-haired, goth boy in Smallville and stuff.
Ooh.
But I can imagine down the line we'll be getting a Mr. Mxyzptlk. But yeah, the point being, at the end, when they're talking about changing time and stuff like that, Mxyzptlk says, "Oh well, the last time I tried that, the Endless tried to exile me," which is a reference because DC Comics and the Endless is a reference to the Sandman. It's dream of the Endless, death of the Endless, destiny, etc., etc. And I grew up in those comics, absolutely adore the Sandman. I don't think now Vera would put that joke in because that's playing lip service to you might say something about the Endless before all the unpleasantness because
that would be funny.
It's like Neil Gaiman now is just like persona non grata,
but that's such a new development. Nobody, at least nobody on the outside of all that had an inkling.
No, that's why I think that's why it's people were so devastated, was because not Neil Gaiman, Jesus
exactly.
Christ.
When I found out the dodgy stuff about Marilyn Manson, who I grew up loving, I was like, well, even though I loved him, I kind of get it. I kind of buy that. But Neil Gaiman,
I remember too, there's people then having them make the point of again, right wing chuds on the internet going on these leftist assholes are not look, one of their own turned out to be a bad guy too, and what are they gonna do? And it's everyone canceled him as well because it was
exactly the same as we would anyone else.
Yeah, and they're kind of as if the right were gonna be they won't be able to take down this guy because he was such an ally and stuff like that, and then the left were just no, he's gone. It's good. Yeah. I think it's saddened to do so, but I would say you could already see the makings of that in what happened with Louis C.K. because Louis C.K. was a left guy, and
oh god, yeah, he was one of us.
Yeah, he was always seemed like a genuinely good dude, and then you watch the show, Louis, great show. He seemed like a really good dad in it and stuff, and then now you're just
there was unpleasantness.
Yeah, and then the unpleasantness occurred, unfortunately. So,
hello everyone. Just to say that's not all. We're only just getting started, baby. On that dark note, I'm popping on just to say this was, of course, part 1, and you can catch part 2 of our People's Joker review. Little Poetry Corner moment there for you. By the end of the week. So check your podcatchers for Friday, and yeah, we should be back with the conclusion of our thrilling coverage. See you then.
We'll be back.